Hello students, how are you? So in the last video, we saw when the British came to India and when they went from India, what was the condition of India, what was the development, what had not happened, and the other things that India faced in the era of British. Now today we will see how the agricultural sector of our country was during the British period. Different sectors of Indian economy on the eve of independence were in a very dismal state. All the sectors of the economy, like the agricultural sector, the industrial sector, and foreign trade, were badly hit by the colonial rule. The critical indicators of change, such as demographic profile of the country, the occupational structure of people, and the economic and social infrastructure, indicated that the country was adversely affected by the colonial rule. So, in agricultural sector, uh, we see that about 75% of country's population was depend on agriculture. In spite of such a large segment of the population being dependent on agriculture, either directly or indirectly, this sector was facing stagnation and constant deterioration. There are some points should be considered in this regard. Low level of agricultural productivity. It is because of technology, low level of technology, lack of irrigation facilities, and negligible use of fertilizers. India's agriculture was starved of investment in terracing, food control, drainage, and desalination of soil. Now, the important point is the zamindari system. It is also known as the land tenure system, in which uh, the zamindars were appointed by the Britishers and they control over the landowners. The profit accruing out of the agriculture sector went to zamindars instead of the cultivators. The zamindars were interested in only collecting rent even in the event of crop failures and did not think to improve the condition of agriculture. This caused misery and social tension amongst the cultivators. Now, such an attitude of the zamindars was due to the term of the revenue settlement. The zamindars were required to deposit a specified sum of revenues on fixed dates, failing which they lost their rights. Because of this, they pressurized the cultivators to pay them rent. The Britishers encouraged commercialization of agriculture because commercialization of agriculture means that farmers were growing crops for sale in the market and not for self consumption. Due to this, the production of food crops became very low and the production of cash crops became high. Cash crops like jute, indigo, cotton, these are the cash crops. India became the exporter of raw materials and the importer of finished goods. This is the situation of agriculture sector which was adversely affected by the Britishers. Look at these pictures. Next, high dependence on monsoon. It is another factor. Our farmers were highly dependent on monsoon there is no major options of irrigation facilities. Now, third point is lack of proper input. It means the technology level was very low and the lack of irrigation facilities and negligible use of fertilizers. They don't have chemical fertilizers to bring the agricultural productivity at a higher level. So these are the points of agricultural sector which are highly influenced by the Britishers. Now the table shows us the causes which were responsible for stagnation of Indian agriculture during colonial period, which is number 1 land revenue system, number 2 forced commercialization of agriculture, in which the commercialization of agriculture were also resulted in famines. Actually, the British industrialists were always in need of raw materials like cotton, jute, groundnut, sugarcane, etc. to keep their factories running. By offering high prices, the Indian peasants were attracted to production of commercial crops instead of food crops. This fallen production of food crops was responsible for frequent famines in India during the British days. Now the third point is partition of country. This is also adversely affect the agriculture during the colonial period. Like when India's agricultural production received under a further setback due to the country's partition at the time of independence, a sizable portion of the undivided country's highly irrigated and fertile land went to Pakistan. Almost the whole of jute producing area became part of East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh. So, India's jute goods industry, which had enjoyed a world monopoly so far, suffered heavily for lack of raw material. So, the structure of agriculture sector during the colonial period are as under this table. So that's all. So take care students. Bye. Thank you.